Yesterday, a major political development happened in the world. Premier Theresa May of the UK resigned. And in her emotional speech, she mentioned something that I feel is relevant to this country, that indeed might affect the political trajectory of this country. Something that will shape the politics of 2022. Theresa May said one of her constituents once pulled her aside and told her this: never forget that compromise is not a dirty word, that many things in the world are achieved through compromise. So what I think and what I see happening in this country is that compromise will affect our politics come 2022. But before I say how, because there are two ways in which this would happen, before I say how, let me also add that compromise does not always mean two people sitting down or 3-4 people sitting down, amicable to resolve an issue. Indeed, it means that, but it could also mean something different. Sometimes compromise is achieved through force, or it is forced. Sometimes two neighbors may have an issue, and they could realize that this issue is destroying them. None of them is going to benefit, and they would then sit down amicably and resolve it through compromise. But in many cases in the world, and how life usually works, is that these two neighbors could go to war, and therefore compromise will be achieved through force. And therefore I'm saying this: our compromise of 2022 could be a boardroom compromise. It could go the way Raila and Uhuru went. The two of them seeing the country was going to burn, that they had the power to save the country from self-destruction. And they sat down and amicably, privately agreed they were going to change that through compromise. But the compromise of 2022, I see it coming through the other option in two possible ways. One, that William Samoei Ruto could be forced into compromise. Forced into compromise because if you see what has been happening in the past 1 or 2 months, and specifically in the past 2 or 3 weeks, then you can see Ruto being pushed into a corner. Indeed, for those who argue that Ruto may not even be impeached, I want to tell them they are wrong. I want to tell Ruto not to listen to anybody who tells him that impeachment is not possible. If the Handshake team decided to impeach you, William Samoei Ruto, they will do so. Because if it gets to impeachment, the Ruto corner cannot get the numbers to impeach Uhuru or to save Ruto from an impeachment. And the reason is not that Ruto is not a tough man. Indeed, he's a very tough man. The reason is about the nature of our politics. Politics in this country is so tribal. And by the time you get to impeachment, the politics will be so charged that all of us will retreat into our tribal cocoons and corners. In this kind of arrangement, where everybody has become tribal, and where every member of parliament will not be holding a vote, an individual vote, but a community vote, where if you came from Mount Kenya, you might have to ask Gitobe Manyara that you could be forced to kneel down and face Mount Kenya and say you belong to the community. When it comes to that, all Luo parliamentary votes belong to the Luo. And because of that, it's unfortunate that in a scenario like that, impeachment is possible. And I'm not saying anybody will be impeached, but I'm just trying to show that at the very highest level, many things are possible. Even an arrest and charging Ruto is possible, and imprisonment. Why? You don't even need to have committed an offense to be charged and arrested and charged and even jailed. Many innocent people are in jail. They never committed an offense. being arrested for theft in this country is very possible because we are all thieves. We belong to a country where theft is so normal that either by default, design, or whichever way, you could be involved in theft. Being arrested in this country for theft is like being arrested for traffic offense. A policeman cannot fail to find an offense if they want when you are driving, either with you as a driver or with your vehicle. So when we say that somebody could be arrested, somebody as high as even Ruto and Chai, it's not far-fetched. And therefore I'm saying that it is possible that Ruto could be forced into a compromise by threat of an impeachment, by threat of an arrest, and because if you see what has been going on, culminating in the latest being the Babayao governor of Kiambu arrest, and of course he was released. But if you look at the things that have been happening, hitting hard at his followers, you know, problems with his Ruto's meetings, withdrawal of security, issues from the church and fundraisers, and a host of other things that are happening. All these should be appointed to the fact that it is possible to force Ruto into a compromise. And therefore 2022 becomes an election of compromise. But there's also another way. And this is coming from the Ruto corner. It is possible that Ruto can force a compromise, not by forcing the handshake team. It's like a person who knows, for example, they don't have the power to stop you from enjoying something. They don't have the power, for example, to stop you from drawing water from the well, but they can throw mud and soil into the well and mess the water, dirty the water, and you could be forced to sit down with them. I think, and I suspect, it is quite possible that when the handshake happened on 9th of March 2018, Ruto looked and saw it was not possible to fight the handshake. Having been part of what happened in 2007, he knows the power of the state and especially the deep state. Having been a beneficiary of 2013, having been a beneficiary in 2017, Ruto knows just what goes round, what happens. And therefore Ruto could have been aware from the word go that he cannot fight the handshake. But he chose to do what some people do in Kenyan politics, where you threaten you are standing and in fact you could stand for president, knowing all too well you stand no chance, but strategically hoping that you'll be noticed and you'll gain. In 2007, Kalonzo Musyoka stood, knowing very well the race was between Raila and Kibaki. But he stood nevertheless. He got his 900,000 or so, when these other guys were getting 4 million plus. He ended up being vice president. Mudavadi became vice president. He had wanted to be president. Mudi Awori had wanted to be president. It happens even at county level these days. A guy says he's going to be running for governor. Somehow he may be brought in as running mates, ending up as deputy governor. But at the very worst, a CEC, a minister in the county. Even at the national level, people say they want big things. And then they are noticed and they become ministers. So Ruto could have known from the word go that he was not going to beat this team, but to be stubborn and through the nuisance value, because of his capacity, because of his qualities, because of his hard work, ability to fight, he has been able to jump over every hurdle brought his way. Every hurdle that has been erected, he has been able to jump. And this, therefore, could end up forcing the handshake team to say, huyu kijana bwana tumwezi. And then do exactly what Ruto had intended to be done. And they would therefore call him, and he would get what he would not have gotten if he just supported the handshake. So I think compromise, as brought yesterday on the table by Theresa May indeed happen in this country so that as we go to 2022, we have a compromise situation in which whoever becomes president or even prime minister and president is a product of some kind of compromise.